Welcome back, guys, or if you're new to my channel, this is Automotive Anonymous, and that's the all-new 2025 Subaru Forester, but more specifically, it's a touring trim level, which is the highest trim level of the current 5 offered by Subaru for this all-new year, and it even has autumn green metallic paint, which looks really sparkly, really good in person, and it even has the brown leather seats with the suede black inserts. So overall, this is a pretty loaded, pretty cool option by Subaru. And if you're new to my channel, I actually have a 2025 Subaru Forester. I have a lot of videos on it. I have a lot of bum time in the seat of these, so I have a lot that I want to share with you guys, and I'm going to try to keep this video as short as possible. So today I'm going to share the good, the bad, and the ugly of the all-new generation Subaru Forester, specifically the Touring, to help you guys at home decide if this might be worth your time and money, so you can expect to see a walk around. All the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60 on my GPS, and then final thoughts to help you guys decide what do you do with this all-new generation Forester. And huge thanks to Twin Falls Subaru for letting me borrow this one for the day. I'll link them below if you're interested. They're a great dealership to work with. They sell below MSRP and they ship all over the country. And with that said, let's dive right into this review. And if you guys like Subaru, the all-new Forester, or my video, please consider liking my video. That small act of kindness, that actually goes a long way in helping me know you want to see more stuff like this, but also will help you by having YouTube choose to show you more stuff like this. Thank you. But if you're new to the Subaru Forester, you really need to know that this model first came out back in 1997. It's sold all over the world, but these ones for the United States market, they're currently assembled in Japan, but that's likely going to change next year when the Forester gets moved to Indiana. Also, a hybrid trim level is coming, which will be pretty cool. A lot of people speculate that's going to be using some of Toyota's hybrid system for the engine and the electronic motors, because Toyota does have about a 20% stake in Subaru's company. But overall, it's a really good vehicle. A lot of people like these. They sell way over 100,000 units every single year in North America alone, favoring the northern or the wintry states. Heck, there's a reason why we have Subarus in our family. They do a really good job. They're fun to drive. They offer quite a lot, as you're going to see throughout this video. But a lot of people are kind of concerned with the looks, the exterior design of this all-new Forester. They say this looks a lot like a Ford Explorer. And in fact, they're right. But honestly, in person, it does look better than on camera. It's growing on me. It just looks like a little bit more grown up, a little bit more bold version of the Forester. And honestly, I don't think it's too bad, especially with all the features, all the extra options that this comes with. But it unfortunately is more expensive than the outgoing 5th generation. These do start at about $2,000 more across the lineup, across all 5 trim levels basically, but they're still expected to be a top safety pick. Plus, they still have a lot of standard and optional safety features. And when you buy something like the Touring, which starts at about $40,000, basically a $10,000 premium over what the base model Forester starts at, you're gonna get a lot of stuff. And when you get this one specifically, you get a 360-degree camera. You get these brown leather seats with black suede inserts. You have basically all the standard safety features that are optional or not even optioned on the lower trim levels. You get 19-inch wheels similar to the Forester Sport, but they're not the bronze accents. And overall, anything else I missed, I'm just going to overlay on the screen. This offers quite a lot. It even has the 4th gen eyesight system, which has the 3rd camera. And then new for this new generation, it has a modified version of the steering rack out of the WRX. So it doesn't turn any more sharply, but it actually feels better. It also has headlights that turn with the steering wheel, which is pretty cool. It has more structural welds and adhesives, making it a little bit stiffer ride. Honestly, the interior also is nicer, and it does seem to be more refined as far as noise and volume intrusion into the cabin. This has the Harman Kardon speakers, but even the bass speakers sound better on this than they do on my Outback Wilderness with the regular bass speakers as well. And it doesn't have the thermal control valve either, so this basically is a little bit more reliable engine. It also is supposed to have the Wilderness transmission cooler from the last generation Wilderness. So overall, it should be a little bit more reliable. It should be a little bit more refined than the last generation. And I think Subaru overall has done a really good job with this. And I want to take just a quick minute to talk about Subaru safety and why we have chosen to drive 2 of these as our main daily drivers. Overall, the all-wheel drive system is just a lot more competent and capable than a lot of the competition. When have you guys ever heard of a Subaru all-wheel drive system failing? I personally never have, and I follow the forums fairly decently. I also haven't had any personal experiences or friend experiences or person-to-person experiences of hearing about these systems failing. Also, there are some other vehicles in the crossover compact class that have fairly good all-wheel drive systems. Mazda, their CX-5, for instance, that's actually a pretty good all-wheel drive system. I've driven a few of those in the winter to test them, and they did a lot better than I thought. Probably not quite as good as the Forester, but still pretty decent, but they don't have the same size back seat. And then this again is a top safety pick plus, at least it's expected to be like the outgoing generation of these. And where I do physical therapy as my day job, I work with people in car accidents. I really value having a safe, reliable vehicle. And this has a lot of safety features. And in fact, if we look at the window sticker, Subaru really puts a big emphasis on safety as basically the first category and the largest category of what they talk about on their window stickers, which a lot of the other manufacturers, they might offer some of these features, but they don't even really advertise them very well on their stickers because it must not be the biggest priority when they're trying to be class leading on other areas. But anyways, something I want to mention that some of you guys might be interested in is the blind spot monitoring on this. If you put the signal on and there's someone in your blind spot and the light is lit up, it does not beep at you. I was hoping this Touring trim level would, and it doesn't, so that's a shame. That's a knock. I think Subaru should do a better job with that. Also, the driver focus mitigation system, it's much less lenient or tolerant of hooligan behavior. If you take your eyes off the wheel for more than about half a second, or you're in adaptive cruise settings and you take your hands off the wheel, which this is all CGI exploration, of course, but after about 5 to 10 seconds, it does start beeping at you. It's a lot more restrictive of a system, a lot more audible in some senses than the outgoing system, and I can't quite tell if the safety features on this actually behave and act better than the outgoing third generation system. It does feel different, it does drive different, but I can't really tell if it's consistently better or not than other Subarus I've driven. Overall, these do a really good job, especially around town because of their compact size. It's about 15.25 feet long. The wheelbase is 8 3/4, so it's pretty well stanced. It's not quite the 9 foot that the Outback and the Ascent has, but it still does a good job. It's roughly 6 feet wide and 5.6 feet tall. So at high speeds, you can feel the height of this vehicle where it's about as tall as it is wide. It doesn't feel quite as stable as something that's lower and wider. But it weighs about 35 or 3,600 pounds, depending on how yours is spec'd. The payload capacity is 900 pounds, which is basically standard across almost all the Subarus. So you can have 900 pounds worth of people or stuff in your Subaru Forester. This, despite having the wilderness transmission, it can only tow 1,500 pounds. It has a 370 final drive ratio. Standard Subaru symmetrical all-wheel drive with 8.7 inches of ground clearance. And it can do a full circle in about 35 feet, which is actually really convenient around town. And then it has approach and departure angles, which are okay, but not fantastic. Lastly, out here, it's worth mentioning that when you lock the gas door, the 16.6 gallon tank gas door locks, so the bums can't siphon any of your fuel. It takes 87 octane. This is rated for 25 city, 32 on the highway, which is 1 mpg lower than the smaller wheeled models. These 19 inches on this and the Sport, that's what the mpg rating is. So your max road trip and range is about 531 miles. If you get a base, a premium, something else with smaller wheels, you're going to get about 16 more miles of max road trip and range. But it's a Bridgestone tire. It has about 9/32 of tread depth, which is not amazing, but it's not bad. It's basically, average for a stock factory all-season tire. And then this is your key. So you have lock, you have unlock, you have power liftgate, you have panic button, but leave this in your pocket because you do have proximity key features. And if you pay for the My Subaru app, you can actually remote start the vehicle from your phone. It's where things get really fancy. On the Touring's door panel, you'll notice black suede inserts. Basically brown leather or composite synthetic type of material. You have memory seats, you have Harman Kardon speakers, you have some boot prints on your little bit of door edging, and you have a bottle holder. You have some snacks. You have the small Subaru that I'm pretty sure they could 3D print. You have all other mats, rubberized floor panels, hood release, fuse box, power lift gate, lighting, foot, you could open and close it with your foot in the back. I'll show you that in a little bit. Ventilation, lighting, stock, and then this is your powered, leather, heated, and ventilated seat with a big power moonroof up top. Sitting inside here is going to look really familiar if you know Subarus well, and if you don't, it's going to be a nice place to be. Armrest comfort is fantastic. Everything's within reach. Leather heated steering wheel. You have sport, sharp, and intelligent mode for the transmission tuning. You have paddle shifters on the back, and when you fire right up with the push button start, notice the needles will dance. Notice the steering responsive headlights will do their little theatrical display. Hopefully you guys can catch that. It's really bright outside, but yep. And unlike the Outbacks, these also go up and down a little bit, not just side to side. But overall, it's a pretty nice place to be. I do like that the steering wheel and the horn extends down here, but it is high pitch. It's not a deeper one like the Outback has. And then this is your 11.6-inch screen. It does a good job overall. If you watch my videos, it's not my favorite screen because so many things are tied up into it. I'd rather have physical climate controls and HVAC buttons, but it seems to do okay. This is your reverse camera, but also watch this. The mirror drops down when you put it into reverse. Kind of a typical thing on Tourings to help you see the sidewalks a little bit better. And then if you want the digital mirror, there it is. It's kind of weird to get used to, but it's also really clear, and Subaru did a good job with that. Otherwise, you have the wireless charger, which only works okay. It depends on the phone, it depends on the case if it's going to really work very well or not for you. You have some plugins, just piano black around the shifter, auto parking brake or electronic parking brake, and then here is your 360-degree camera feature. It's actually pretty neat, pretty cool, and the clarity, it's not any worse than I was expecting. I'm not sure if it's much better, but it does a pretty good job. So you go start moving, and you can even have the front-facing camera on while you're moving, which I think is pretty cool, but not too bad. Otherwise, you have the 12-volt, you have some cup holders, you have a spot for your phone, for your wallet, anything else. Basically, Subaru was too lazy to redesign this from the Crosstrek, so when you lost the CD player in the Crosstrek, you didn't redesign and lose the CD tray, but at least it's some extra storage. And then you have a little felt lifty tray in here. It should have probably a 12-volt. Nope, there's not a 12-volt in here. I thought there was, like the Outback has, but anyways, we dropped that. You have some garage door openers on this. You have a spot for your sunshades. You have the huge pano moonroof. You have an extension versus this actually sliding out. And then you should have some LED lighting right there. But with that said, let's turn it off and let's hop in the back. The back of the Forester is a really nice place to be. Obviously, the same engineers that designed the front door panel designed the rear because all the materials, all the colors are basically the same. And then you have a little bit of grip right there. You have to get up to those low, sporty roof rails. And then I currently have the 40 split seat recline because you do have a little strap to pull it up and back. It's pretty cool, but Subaru seats are light. They're easy to maneuver. And at 5'11", sitting behind myself from a comfortable driving position, I have a lot of room in front of my knees. I have the double mat pocket and the phone holder or the pamphlet holder, ventilation, heated seats, and then I do have a fold down armrest right in here. Overall, this is a really nice place to be. Big windows, lots of light, lots of creature comforts. Overall, I'm pretty happy back here. The back of this all-new Forester, despite having a lot of different styling characteristics, it actually is shaped very much like a Subaru, and it doesn't really surprise me that this is the new Forester, but there's about a half dozen ways that you can get into the hatch. You can obviously use the button on the remote. You can push the button that's underneath the Subaru emblem. You could push the button on the dashboard, climb through the back seats, break the glass window, or just use your foot. Kind of a silly option, but we're gonna do that, just a single swipe. It's a little bit delayed, and then it opens pretty well. Back here, you have a little bit over 30 cubic feet of room, but when you drop the seats, you have about 74, and you even have these little handles to drop, and I'm not sure if this one will drop with the seatbelt going through. Ooh, it did. And then you have the privacy shade, you have the rubberized mat protection, and the back seat protection on these ones. Otherwise, you have a 12-volt, you have some bag tie downs, a little bit of storage back here, a little bit of a subwoofer back there, and then unfortunately, it's only a temporary spare tire back here. That's also a battery tray if you have a smaller aftermarket battery to put in there so it fits the box well enough. You have a little bit of storage. You can put the privacy shade right there in that groove that goes along. And then under here, your spare tire, your scissor jack, your basic tools to get the job done. And with that said, let's drop it down with the power liftgate. You can also set a pin code right there. I have an old video on how to set that. It's a really cool feature to help you get into your Subaru without having the keys on you. Otherwise, let's move on to the passenger side. If you're fortunate enough to ride shotgun seat in the all-new Forester, you get the same nice door panel, Harman Kardon advertised speakers. You have some power options, although not the same as the driver's side, but you do get heated ventilated seats. The backpack's happy, basically just blending in to what it came as, which was leather originally. And then you have all-weather floor mats, non-locking glove box, no storage above the glove box on the transmission tunnel like the Outback has, and no plug-in or 12-volt either. It's not huge, but you can store a couple things in here. Otherwise, let's come around to the front. I'll pop the hood and I'll show you what the little boxer engine looks like. Under the hood, you have the 2.5 liter boxer engine. It's basically just a better, more refined version of the old 2.5 liter boxer engines. This now with the software update, it makes about 180 horsepower, so it's down to, and that's at a 5,600 RPM, so you really have to rev it out to get to that power level, but it makes a little bit more torque at a little bit lower in the RPM band, which is why it was retuned. So now it makes 178 foot-pound-feet of torque at 3,700 RPM. So it actually does feel more noticeable around town. I don't really feel it anymore with how many of these I've driven, but the first time I hopped in a brand new 25 Forester, I actually felt that it did feel a little bit more punchy at low speeds. Otherwise, ventilation, you have the air box, the filter in there, the throttle body, the intake runners. You can see where the block is split and the serial number right there. Otherwise, Subaru designs engines incredibly well, so that they're easy to work on for the most part. Oil dipstick, alternator, coolant hose to the water pump, all that stuff, serpentine belt, oil filter, oil fill, coolant reservoirs, windshield washer, brake fluid, fuse box, battery. Everything's basically right where you want to be, and there's enough room under here that most things other than spark plugs are a pretty easy job to do yourself. Anyways, let's drop the hood, take it for a drive. Initial driving impressions of the Forester Touring is, after driving a lot of these, I do have to say I think the Touring feels the best. The wheel feels like it's a little bit nicer leather. These seats with the Ultra Suede, I mean, I always think Forester seats feel good, but these especially feel good, especially with the ventilated feature. I do think it makes a lot of noise. In fact, I'll turn that on right here so you can hear it. And it doesn't cool you down to the point of making you cold, at least on what the vehicle thinks is a 79-degree day, but at least helps compared to what the materials otherwise would feel like. Overall, visibility is fantastic on the Forester. The windows are huge. You can see the sprinkler. You can see it from the front approach, and you can see it as it hits our sunroof right there. The wipers, they do a pretty good job. Of course, they leave kind of a streak on the side. Actually, that glass maybe has been treated with some water repellent hydrophobic feature, but overall, it drives nice. The speakers, being the upgraded system on this Touring, actually do sound pretty good, but even on our base model, or I should say our premium with the base speakers, I actually think it sounds noticeably better than the base speakers on our Outback Wilderness, because mine came from the year before the Harman Kardon feature was added for the US market. But overall, it's really nice. I do think that the hybrid powertrain is going to be appreciated to make a little bit more power than what this naturally aspirated one does, because in just a second you'll see what it does 0 to 60. And keep in mind, that's with me unloaded, not towing, not weighted down, not with 900 pounds worth of people and stuff in this vehicle. But overall, it's a nice vehicle. They drive really well. You should always test drive one of these if you're going to compare it to other crossovers in this class. But I will say, you know, 60 miles an hour or slower, it feels really stable on the road. This thing handles exceptionally well around town. The steering, it's kind of numb, but it does a good job. The steering rack from the WRX really is pretty nice. It's gonna feel a lot more stable than this Polaris Slingshot that I'm about to pass right there. But at 80 miles an hour, it doesn't feel as stable as my Turbo Outback, which weighs more, which is longer, and a lower vehicle overall. So keep in mind, this thing really shines around town, but you should definitely take one on the highway, on the interstate. Try to get up to about 80 miles an hour if you legally can, so that you can tell for yourself if this is the vehicle that you want. Anyways, guys, let's do a 0 to 60, and then we'll wrap it up with my final thoughts. 0 to 60 in the Forester Touring, traction control is off. I have it in Sport Sharp mode, and this is the first time I'm just gonna go off of idle. I'm not gonna do a CVT brake rev. Keep in mind though, density altitude's 5,500 feet, so this vehicle is down on power, about 20%. Let's see what it can do. And true 0 to 60 came in at 10.18 seconds. So you could always check out my other Forester videos to see what it does with the brake rev, but I'm assuming 0 to 60 is about a half second slower when you don't brake rev it. My final thoughts of the 2025 Subaru Forester Touring. Well, this is likely going to be the Touring that's around for the next 5, 6, 7 years. Do I think Subaru did a good job on it? Heck yeah, I do. For 40 grand, I think it offers a lot of stuff. It has a nice green metallic paint. It has brown ventilated seats. It really has a lot of stuff that's in that ballpark, while not being compromised on the engine. Sure, the engine needs more power, but the 2.5-liter boxer engine is a sound platform. The all-wheel drive of this is as competent as anything, even at twice the price range, and the safety features on this match a lot of the other double the price range rivals. So I do think this isn't for everyone, but I do think you should test drive one for yourself. Give it a try. If you're considering a $40,000 mildly luxurious crossover SUV, you absolutely have to drive the Forester. I think a lot of you guys are going to like it. I think there's a reason why more than 140,000 people buy these most years in North America alone, and there's a reason why we have one in our family. It just makes sense, and if you don't want the most expensive Touring, you could get a base model for 30 grand, a premium for 33. You can get a lot of other options, and does it feel good to have all the Foresters currently available, finished filming for this year? Yeah, it does. If you want to watch any of the base, premium, sport, limited, any of those other videos, I have plenty of that stuff on my channel. I also have plenty of videos of our own 2025 Forester Premium. And with that said, if you guys got anything out of this video, please consider liking it. Comment your thoughts and opinions below. Subscribe if you haven't already. Remember, Twin Falls Subaru, they ship all over the country and they sell below MSRP. They're one of the best dealerships that you will ever have the opportunity of working with, and they would love the opportunity to work with you. So with that said, take care, guys. See ya.